In the far reaches of the Orion expanse, where ancient civilizations stretched across stars like constellations brought to life, the Elith Dominion ruled with unmatched elegance and ruthless tradition. They were a species defined by perfection, perfection of form, perfection of mind, perfection of lineage. Anything less was considered a flaw. And Princess Liari was a flaw. Born into the royal bloodline, Liari should have been everything the Dominion valued. She was intelligent, composed, and carried the unmistakable grace of her people. But there was one problem. She could not fulfill the one duty expected of her. She could not produce an heir. Among the Elith, reproduction was not just biological. It was sacred. Their royal line was sustained through a rare genetic resonance, something that only a select few could achieve. Liari could not, and in a society that worshipped continuity, that failure was unforgivable. She is unfit. The words echoed through the High Council chamber, spoken without emotion. Liari stood at the center, unmoving, her silver eyes steady despite the judgment surrounding her. She carries the bloodline, one elder argued, but not its future. Another replied. A pause, then the final decision. She will be removed from succession. The words didn't shock her. She had known this was coming. What she didn't expect was what came next. We will gift her to the humans. A ripple moved through the chamber. Not outrage, amusement. The Aelith viewed humanity as crude, short-lived, chaotic, emotionally driven. Their rise among the stars had been fast, but inelegant. To give a royal Aelith princess to a human wasn't diplomacy, it was mockery. She will serve as a symbol, the High Speaker continued, a reminder of what becomes of imperfection. Liari said nothing, but for the first time, something flickered behind her calm expression. The transfer was quiet, deliberate, and deeply humiliating. No ceremony, no honor guard, just a diplomatic vessel carrying what the Aelith no longer wanted. On the receiving end was Commander Elias Rin of the United Terran Fleet, a soldier, a strategist, and, unexpectedly, a man with no patience for political games. "You're telling me," Elias said slowly, staring at the transmission, "that they're giving me a princess?" "Correct," the diplomat replied. "As what? A prisoner?" "No," Elias frowned. "Then what?" A pause. A gesture. Elias leaned back, exhaling. "Yeah," he muttered, "that's what I was afraid of." When Liari stepped off the ship, she expected ridicule, discomfort, distance. Instead, she found something else. Silence, not cold, not judgmental, just uncertain. Elias studied her for a moment, then nodded once. "Welcome," he said simply, no sarcasm, no mockery, just a statement. Yari blinked. That wasn't what she expected. Life among humans was different. Everything was louder, messier, less controlled. Emotions weren't hidden, they were expressed, openly and without shame. At first, Liari kept her distance. She observed, analyzed, waited, but slowly, something changed. "They laugh a lot," she said one day, watching a group of engineers joking over a broken console. Elias glanced at her. "Yeah, helps with stress. They show weakness openly. We call that being human." Lares considered that, among the Aelith, weakness was concealed. Among humans, it was shared. Days turned into weeks. Weeks into months. Liari adapted, not by losing who she was, but by understanding something she had never been allowed to explore. Choice. For the first time in her life, she wasn't defined by expectation. She wasn't measured by her ability to continue a bloodline. She was simply herself, and Elias. He treated her no differently than anyone else. No reverence, no dismissal, just respect. "You don't have to stay here," he told her once. "I know," she replied. "Then why do you?" Liari looked out at the stars. "Because for the first time," she said quietly, "I am not being evaluated." Elias didn't respond, but he understood. The message from the Aelith came unexpectedly, short, cold, formal. "We request status of the gifted asset." Elias stared at it, then looked at Liari. "What do you want me to say?" She thought for a moment. Then, "Tell them I am alive." But the Illith weren't satisfied. They had expected failure, disgrace, proof that their judgment had been correct. Instead, they found silence. And silence made them curious. A delegation was sent, not out of concern, but to confirm what they already believed, that Liari had become exactly what they expected. Nothing. They arrived without warning. 3 Aelith envoys, their presence commanding, their expressions unreadable. Yari stood before them, unbowed, unchanged. "Princess Liari," one of them said, "you appear intact." "I am," she replied. A pause then. "You have not requested return." "I have not." Another pause, longer this time. "Have the humans altered you?" Liari glanced briefly at Elias, then back. "No," she said. "They have allowed me to become what I was not permitted to be." The envoys exchanged glances, confusion, something they rarely experienced. Then came the moment that changed everything. "You were deemed incapable of continuing the line." One envoy said, "Yes." And yet, they hesitated, for the first time. "We detect a shift." Liari didn't respond, but Elias did. "What shift?" The envoy turned to him. "Her genetic resonance," they said. "It is active, silence, heavy, impossible." "That's not possible," the second envoy said. "It wasn't," the first replied. "Until now." The truth spread quickly, faster than any signal, faster than any ship. The barren princess was no longer barren. The Aelith didn't understand. They couldn't. Everything they believed about their own biology, about perfection, about control, was being challenged. "How?" the High Council demanded. "How has this occurred?" No one had an answer, except Liari did. "It is not your perfection that sustains life," she said when they finally summoned her. "It is your limitation." The chamber fell silent. "You restricted connection," she continued. "Controlled it, defined it." "Yes," the High Speaker said. "To preserve purity. And in doing so," Liari said softly, "you weakened it." She explained what the humans had shown her, not through science alone, but through something the Aelith had long abandoned. Emotion, conscience, adaptation. The human genome wasn't perfect. It was flexible, responsive, alive in ways the Aelith had forgotten. "You saw imperfection," Liari said. "But imperfection is what allows growth." The realization shook the Dominion, not because it was loud, but because it was undeniable. Everything they had built, everything they believed, was incomplete. Yari was no longer seen as a flaw. She was something else, a bridge between 2 worlds, between 2 philosophies, between control and change. "And, Elias?" He watched it all unfold with quiet disbelief. "You realize," he said to her one evening, "you just rewrote their entire society." Liari tilted her head slightly. "Not alone," she said. Elis smirked. "Yeah, but still." The Illith didn't laugh when they spoke of her anymore. They didn't whisper, they didn't mock. They listened, because the princess they had given away as a joke had returned as something far greater. Not just a mother, but a symbol of what they had failed to understand. And in the end, what shocked everyone wasn't that she changed, it was that she had always been capable of it. They just never allowed her to be.